Friends, we all want to be understood, don't we? Isn't that one of our deepest desires, to be understood, for somebody to see everything about us, to know us completely and understand? Have you ever found yourself thinking, nobody understands this feeling that I'm having, or I wish that somebody would get the thing that I'm experiencing right now? Maybe you feel like that today. And I hope our reading for today is a balm for your soul, because the author of Hebrews is here to say to you, there is somebody who understands every feeling, every emotion, every wish, dream, desire. There is somebody who understands, and it's Jesus. It's the Son of God. The author is about to begin a few chapters long discussion of Jesus' role as our high priest. He's been building this argument brick by brick, saying that Jesus is greater than the angels, he's greater than Moses, now he's greater than the high priests of Israel. And I think our modern conceptions of priests and priesthood don't completely square with the biblical vision from the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, priests were commissioned to be like bridges, portals, mediators between God and his people here on earth. They were supposed to be the ones who were ushering people into God's presence, administering sacrifices and advocating for their people, interceding for them before the Father. But if you have read much of the Old Testament, you know that the Israelite priesthood has a long history that is riddled with corruption and injustice and hypocrisy. This God-given commission that the tribe of Levi, and specifically Aaron, Moses' brother, and his line, receive to be the intercessors between Israel and God. There are moments of righteousness, blips where there are people who earnestly love God and desire to be humble and follow him and help their neighbors follow God too. But as we see throughout the prophets, and certainly in Mark through Jesus' words to the Pharisees and Sadducees, the religious leaders and the priests, oftentimes the priests are wayward and they are sinful themselves. They are also humans who make mistakes, and so they have to offer sin offerings before God for themselves. Nobody is able to fulfill this role of high priest perfectly over centuries and centuries of high priest until Jesus walks on the scene. And the author of Hebrews wants to say to us, he is the one person who steps into this role as high priest. He ushers us into the presence of God. He advocates for us with the Father. He himself is the sacrifice that atones for our sins. We'll talk about that later. And he does it all perfectly. And so now Jesus is up in the heavenly realms with the Father, advocating for us. He is still your mediator, the one standing in the gap between you and God right this very moment. But there's something else that's special about Jesus as our mediator. Not just that he's sinless, though that's important. It's that he understands. He was the perfect high priest, and he is also the high priest who stepped into the human condition and bore the weight of it for us. He came out righteous, but we know that Jesus felt all of the emotions, all of the pains, experienced all of the suffering and the betrayal. He experienced temptation. And so what the author of Hebrews wants to say to you is this. Verse 14 of chapter 4. Since then we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God. Let us hold fast to our confession, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with us in our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. Then let us draw with confidence near the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. So my invitation to you today is to draw near to the throne of grace with confidence, because you have a mediator, Jesus, who stepped in, and the Son of God himself put on flesh, and he understands intimately what it is like to be us. If you are angry or grieving or suffering bodily or mental or emotional pain, he understands that. If you are confused, if you're betrayed, if you are raging at injustice, he understands that. If you're struggling with temptation and lies from the enemy, he's been there. If you're feeling the weight of your own sin and failures, if you're feeling any shame because of it, he has felt that. He picked up that sin and shame and carried it all the way to Calvary and bore it on the cross. Everything that you feel, the author of Hebrews says, Jesus understands. So therefore, let's approach with confidence. He's not looking down his nose at you when you mess up or when you're suffering. He's not looking on you with contempt when you're angry. He understands. So today, would you spend some time being honest with God in prayer? Approaching the throne of grace in prayer. Feel permission to tell him how you authentically feel, knowing that there is a mediator up in heaven who understands and sympathizes and feels compassion and gentleness towards you. What's weighing you down? Maybe it's something in your own life or a friend's life or our country or the world around us. And then ask. Ask for what you want and what you need confidently, because he understands. Your requests don't seem ridiculous or outlandish. Your feelings aren't foreign to him. Let's approach the throne of grace with confidence. Jesus, our mediator, is up in heaven, looking at us with understanding and gentleness in his eyes. We're going to talk more about this next week, friends, but for now, ask, and ask boldly. Take care.